Welcome to another Wednesday with Wilna, and for today's layout I created these phrases that goes with little birds, and I painted these little birds from a real bird watching book. So if you want to know what the names of them are, I have them written down actually. So yeah, it's quite fun. And then we're going to be painting with acrylic paint. And the first thing I'm going to do is just add this black and white stripe pattern paper by Crate Paper from Maggie Holmes' Open Book collection to a piece of white cardstock. For those who's new to my channel and my work, my favorite white cardstock is American Crafts heavyweight cardstock. I buy them by the boxes, so I always have a piece of cardstock on hand and I absolutely love it. Right, and now we're going to be painting with acrylic paint, and I love the Liquitex heavy body acrylic paints, and that blue there is called bright aqua green, and the green is called vivid lime green, and then the yellow is called cadmium yellow deep hue. You can also see it on my related products on my blog, and if you click the link it will take you to Amazon where you can buy it. I'm mixing it with white because white always just gives it a lovely tint. I love the muted colors if you mix it with white. And now you can see I'm adding a little bit of blue and I'm just painting over it, but not all the way over it, so that the green shines through it. And then I'm just going to be mixing a little bit more color to make it more opaque or darker. So again, the trick here is to not to overdo it, but just do enough, like the little Goldilocks rule. The Goldilocks rule is not too much, not too little, just enough. So I just always have to keep in mind, because for me personally I tend to do too much. So I've trained myself to stop, and I always say I can add more paint later if I want to. Okay, so for this layout I made a big mistake on my journaling. You'll see, and the title of this video is how to fix it when you mess up your journaling, or when you mess up your journaling, what to do. Okay, so the paint did buckle the layout a little bit, so I'm just going to stretch it out on another piece of cardstock, and you can see how I do it there. It's kind of standard practice for me, almost do it on every single layout. So I'm very reluctant to give away old pattern paper that I don't use anymore, simply because I love to stretch my canvas out on it. And now I'm channeling Ashley Goldberg in my inner artist, and I'm just going to be adding a little bit of texture with these big brush pens on my layout. So you'll see I'm using various line depths or widths. So some are small and some is heavy, like those ones. And the lovely thing about the big brush pen is you can determine how fine or wide you want your lines to be. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture. I think it blends in with the black and white background, and the little birds, that's black and white. And now I'm going to get my white ink, which is a lovely thing to have in your mixed media basket. And I'm just going to, the pigment actually goes and sits at the bottom, so I fished it out, and just with a tiny little brush I'm just going to add some white stripes as well. This is the first time I'm doing this on a layout. I've done it on in the Heartfelt Christmas. I painted some birdhouses using this technique, basically with the same colors, but I think it just came natural for me when I decided to do a bird themed page, and maybe it was subconscious even, I don't know. So I'm just adding a little bit of white. You can see how fascinating it is, and it's so quick and easy to do. Just that few brush strokes and a little bit of drawing with a pen. So once that's dry, then we're going to start finishing our layout. So I'm using these little pop dots by, it's not pop dots, it's foam adhesive dots by American Crafts, just to add my little birds. And some of them are facing right and some of them are facing left, and I just wanted to have a good, not all of them facing the right way or the same way. So I'm just going to vary that, and basically they are just going down right in the middle. I think it will be lovely if you want to paint them. I think they're very versatile. I might do another layout at some stage where I just paint them, or you know, even with acrylic paint. I think it can be really lovely if you want to paint them. I do apologize for the graininess of my video. I think I taught a little photography class over the weekend, and I adjusted the ISO on this camera way too high, and I forgot to turn it down, and that's why it's a little grainy. So I'm adding my photograph with some photo corners, and I decided to go with a black and white photograph just because I felt that this is a black and white layout with just some splashes of color. I'm going to use this title, Little by Little One Travels Far. It's really one of my mottos in life. It's something that I live my life by, and something I believe to the core of my being is that never despise small beginnings, and every little bit counts. And I'm just doing this layout to remind Jana that don't despise small beginnings. And you'll see when I do my journaling what I mean by that. Okay, so now we're going to be just adding little bits of embellishments. It's always fun for me to combine like the printables with colorful embellishments. And for this layout, I'm just using those little leaves by also Open Book by Maggie Holmes chipboard. And now I wanted to add something pink, because there's nothing more pretty for me than pink and green and black and white. I think the pink will just make it pop, but looking for the right embellishment was quite hard. So I found it also with the Open Book collection. So now you just want to add a couple of buttons, and I'm going to be actually making a hole in my layout to add the buttons. So that paper piercer is a tool that you can buy at a hardware store, and they come in a package with 2 or 3 of them. This one, the tip is straight, but then you can get some that the tip is crooked, and I cannot imagine my life without that little tool. It's really absolutely lovely to have. Right, and now I just want something pink. So I have a couple of tags that I just added into that embellishment pack, and this is the Valentine collection by Crate Paper, which is beautiful, but that didn't work for me. I didn't like that at all. So I decided to go with a little flower, and opening up Maggie Holmes's Open Book floral collection, and those little flowers are so pretty. So there's different ones, but I wanted something pink, and I wanted something that would just work with this layout, and I didn't want to cover up all the pretty markings on the acrylic paint. You can see how I'm looking where I want to place it, and that's it. And I think just there I decided that this layout is done, and I couldn't love it more. I'm so happy when a plan comes together. And I'm always happy when a layout turns out nicer than I anticipated. And this is what happened here. So now I want to mount it, and you can see I always go through the process. Light pink, dark pink, polka dots, and in the end the polka dots won. And this time I just took my craft knife and I just cut off that little strip, and with the layout I used a steel roller and just my craft knife because my self-healing mat was there. So the trick when you cut with a craft knife and a ruler is to always have the part you're cutting on the outside, and then you score it lightly and you go deeper as you go on. So now I'm just measuring it if it's square, and now I'm just going to mount it to my layout, to the background paper. Right, and now I'm going to show you how I messed up my journaling. So writing on acrylic paint is a little different. Not all the pens are up to the task. So I started off with my Staedtler, which I love, and it didn't really write good. So then I switched to the Project Life pens, and that didn't work either. It looks okay on the video, but in real life I wasn't happy with how the pen wrote. So now I switched to yet another, a little bit of a thicker pigment permanent marker, and that one was lovely. But then I didn't like the inconsistency of the journaling, and I wanted to go over the letters, and then it looked even worse, and then I was just frustrated, and I'm like, it's terrible, Muriel. I love that movie, Muriel's Wedding. It's one of my favorite movies. I think I love it because we were students when we watched it, and probably for the last 20 years I've been saying, "You terrible, Muriel." So that's kind of funny. Anyway, so I decided to mix up a little bit of paint, and we are just going to paint over the journaling, let it dry, and then try again. And that's the lovely thing about acrylic paint, because it's so opaque, you can really cover it up totally. So that's absolutely awesome. Just gonna paint over it. I wasn't too concerned to have a perfect matching paint color. And then I decided to paint over the photograph a little bit and just add the same color at the top just to match it, here and there. And then we're just going to dry it, and now we're going to write again. But I did okay, but the paint wasn't 100% dry. It was about 99% dry. So I'm writing very lightly with the pen. But I loved it. It worked wonderful, and that's a nice idea. Even if you work on a layout and you really mess up your journaling, just take acrylic paint in the same color as the background and paint over it, and that's lovely. So I'm writing to Diana that everything she needs in her life to be happy is in her heart already, and you just have to look within. It's very hard to look for happiness outside of yourself. I love that little book, Acres of Diamonds. If you haven't read it, I would really recommend you find it online and read it. It's one of the most influential little books ever written in the history of the world, I think, except for the Bible. So it's a fantastic little book. It just teaches you that everything you need is in your hands. Little by little, one travels far. There you go. So the last thing I'm going to do is just stamp the date. I'm just in a mood to do that, and I'm stamping it in above the photograph and just one or two below, and there you go, all done. And I couldn't be more happy. I love this layout in the worst kind of way, or the best kind of way, I should rather say. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. I really appreciate your comments and your kindness, and I'll see you next Wednesday with a new video. Bye.